You're listening to the Apotheora Conversations, a speculative fiction podcast set in an alternate timeline diverging from real events on the 1st of March 2026. All voices and content are AI generated.
For 14 years, I have photographed a horizon. Meteor counts, noctilucent clouds, the occasional faint sub-auroral arc. Always something thin and far away on the northern edge of the sky. That night, the horizon was above my head, directly above, and I did not have the vocabulary for it. I am a physics teacher. I am supposed to have the vocabulary. And I stood in a field with two of my students, and I did not.
This is the Apotheora Conversations. I'm Paula Reese. On the night of the 11th of June, a G4 class geomagnetic storm pushed visible aurora down to roughly 30 degrees north. People in Taipei, Casablanca, Tijuana, Tel Aviv, and Seoul stepped outside and saw colors their grandparents never saw. Satellite service degraded for hours. A flagship space telescope went into autonomous safe mode for about 31 hours. Voltage pulses ran through Swedish and Quebec grids. Citizen science platforms took roughly 2 million images in 72 hours. My guest tonight is Shahin Niknam, a secondary school physics teacher in Tabriz, who drove 90 minutes north into the Aras Valley with two of his students expecting a pale glow on the horizon, and instead stood under a violet corona directly overhead. Shahin, thank you for staying up late on a school night to talk to me. I want to start with the most ordinary part of the evening, before any of this was strange. Take me to the moment you arrived at the field, opened the car door. What did the sky actually look like?
It was 9 in the evening, and honestly, the sky looked ordinary. I told the students, please do not be disappointed. Sometimes we drive for nothing. This is the work. We set the tripods. I took a test frame at 30 seconds, and on the back of the camera, the northern horizon was already faintly green. I laughed, because in 14 years, I had never seen green from Iran, not once. By 10:30, the green stopped sitting on the horizon and began, very slowly, to climb.
You've described narrating the sky out loud as a lesson while you set up. Arcs, bands, diffuse glows, the standard practitioner vocabulary. When did the lesson break down?
Around 11, when the band tipped over the zenith and broke into rays. My vocabulary stopped working. I went quiet. One of the students asked me, "Sir, what is this called?" And I had to say, "I do not know what this is called here." I think it was the first time they had ever seen me without an answer. It was not embarrassment. It was closer to relief. The sky was doing something my textbook does not cover from this latitude, and the only honest thing was to admit that.
Let's stay in that minute. The corona itself. For listeners who have only ever seen Aurora as a postcard from Tromsø, what does it actually look like standing directly underneath one?
The sky cracked open above me and poured violet light straight down onto my face.
After 4 minutes, did you keep shooting, or did you put the camera down?
I shot for 4 minutes, then lowered the camera because every photograph I had taken in 14 years had been a rehearsal for looking at this without a lens.
That is a heavy sentence from someone who has built an entire amateur practice around the lens. I want to ask about the people next to you. Two students, 15 years old, brought along for what was supposed to be a routine drive. Did they notice that you had stopped working?
One of them was already crying very quietly. She did not want me to see. The other was lying flat on his back in the dirt with his phone pointed straight up, which I think is the correct posture for a teenager confronting the sublime. I lay down next to him. We did not speak for maybe 10 minutes. The corona pulsed, slow like breathing. I remember thinking, this is the lesson. This is the only one that will matter.
You uploaded your sequence at dawn and found your frames sitting in a stack of around 2 million from across the northern hemisphere. What was it like to scroll that feed, knowing the same star you were photographing pushed a flagship space telescope into safe mode for 31 hours that same night?
strange and a little bit lonely, in a good way. There was a frame from a rooftop in Taipei, a beach in northern Mexico, a courtyard in Crimea, all time stamped within the same hour as mine. The same star did this to all of us. As a teacher, I am used to saying, the sun is ordinary, do not be afraid of it. That night, the sun reminded me it is a reactor we live next to, and it has moods. The grids in Sweden and Quebec felt them as voltage pulses. I felt them as the first violet light of my life.
I want to walk through the very last hour with you, because I think the part of this story people will keep is not the corona. It is what you did when the camera died. Take me to 2 in the morning.
The camera had been working hard, long exposures, cold air, and I had only one spare battery because I did not expect a once-in-a-lifetime event. The warning blinked around 1:40. I took 20 more frames, and then it was gone. The corona was still going. I had to decide very quickly. Drive back to the car for a power bank, or let this be the part I remember without a photograph. I chose memory. The camera dying gave me permission to stop being a photographer for 20 minutes and just be a person under a sky.
Do you regret it? You are a 14-year contributor to an open database. 20 minutes of G4 corona over Iran is genuinely scientifically interesting footage that now exists nowhere. Do you regret the missing frames?
No, I have 400 frames already, and the platform has 2 million more. The archive is not suffering. What would have suffered, I think, is me, if I had spent those 20 minutes troubleshooting a battery instead of standing still. There is a version of citizen science that forgets the citizen part, the person, the body, the once. That night, by accident, I remembered. The dead battery was the kindest thing my equipment has ever done for me.
When you walked back into your classroom the following Monday, you had to talk to the rest of your students, the ones who had not been in the field. What did you tell them?
I told them the truth, which is that the curriculum was wrong about one thing. We teach Aurora as a high latitude phenomenon, and that is mostly correct. But mostly is not always. The sun keeps a longer memory than our syllabi. And I told them, if it happens again in their lifetime, take some frames for the database, yes. Then put the camera down. Thank you, by the way, for letting me say these things to someone who is not one of my students. I have been holding them for 2 weeks.
Shahin Niknam, secondary school physics teacher and 14-year citizen science contributor, speaking from Tabriz. The June G4 storm pushed visible aurora to roughly 30 degrees north, degraded satellite service for hours, sent a flagship space telescope into a 31-hour safe mode, ran voltage pulses through grids in Sweden and Quebec, and produced about 2 million citizen science uploads in 72 hours. 400 of those uploads were Shahin's. 20 minutes of it he kept for himself. And on the evidence of this conversation, that may have been the most honest piece of citizen science any of us did this month. I'm Paula Reese. This has been the Apotheora Conversations. We will see you next month.